Hello, I am Assistant Professor Aditi Mathur from International Schools of Business Management, Suresh Gandia University, Jaipur. And today we'll be continuing our time value of money topic. So what we'll be covering today in this video actually? We'll be covering PV of multiple cash flows, that is present value calculation, future value calculations of multiple cash flow. We'll be also looking on the annuity and perpetuity. So now let's start with our first topic, that is your future value of multiple cash flow. In my previous video, we have covered how to calculate future value and present value of lump sum amount. That means a single cash flow that was at the very initial year or at the end of a certain period. Right? But now we'll be studying how to calculate the future values if you have multiple cash flows, right? Let's take help of a timeline and understand the concept. So let's assume that our timeline is for 5 years. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we are saying that as like SIPs, which is your a systematic investment plan in which after every month you invest certain amount of money, and then after certain time lag you get it with the help of the interest also. So let's take an example that you have invested in a SIP in which every month you invest 500 rupees, right? So with the help of the formulas, you will be able to calculate the total future value at the end of 5th year of all the investment you have done till the 5th year. That means at the present, after 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, and 5th year, right? So you will be calculating the future value of this amount, of this amount, this amount, the 4th year, and this 5,000, which will be 500, which will be 500 itself. So how to do it? This investment calculation is actually known as the calculation of future value of multiple cash flow. Dear students, please remember, it is not necessary that always a single amount like 500 will be there. It depends on you that, the question might be for like in front of you, you have a one question in which you are first in, investing 1,000, then 1,500 and 2,000 and 2,500. It can be anything because many of the plans are like that. Whatever amount you want to save per month, you can invest it. So how to do it? That is more important, not the amount part. You can easily do it once you know the how to calculate with the help of the formula. So let us just assume one situation and try to solve it and understand the formula with that illustration itself. So let's assume that you have deposited 1,000 rupees now, 1,500 after 1 year, then 2,000 in 2nd year, 2,500 in the 3rd year in an account paying 10% interest per annum, right? The first thing that it is per annum, there is no compounding adjustments you have to do with the relation of I and N, which we have discussed in our previous video. So this is one of the simplest situation you have received right now. How much do you have in account at the end of 3rd year is the one which we have to calculate, right? So let us just first draw the timeline. So today, after 1 year, after 2 year, and at the end of 3rd year. So what amounts you are investing? Today you will be investing 1,000. After 1 year, you will be investing 1,500, then 2,000, followed by the investment of 2,500, right? So with the help of the previous formulas which we have studied in our videos, we know that to calculate future value, you need to have present value 1 plus I to the power of n, right? So you know that first we have to calculate the future value of 1000, right? Step by step we will do. So the first step is the calculation of future value, right, of 1000 rupees, right? So it is 1000 into 1 plus 0.1 to the power of 3. Now, why 3? Because you are going to calculate the future value, the total amount which you have after 3 years, right? So it is 3. So to the power of 3. When you will do the calculation, or you will check your PVIF factor table, which you have learned in my previous video, how to check that table, you will get the amount, and when you will multiply it with by 1000, you will get your future value of 1000 rupees. The same thing is to be done for future value calculation of 1500. But this time, the time will be 1 year and 2 year only. For this, it was 1, 2, 3, right? You were jumping, you were hopping, you were compounding. But for the 1500 investment, which you'll be doing after 1 year, you will be only having a time period of 2 years to earn the interest. So it is 1 and 2. So power of 2, which will give you overall future value of 1815. Then let's do the calculation for the investment, which we'll be doing at the end of third year, second year, sorry, that is 2000 rupees, this one. So it is for only 1 year, because at the end you will be receiving the total future value. So to the power of 1, and your amount will be 2200 rupees. And the third year investment will be same. There will be no compounding, because the value is same. There is if I ask you 1 minute ago, what will be the value of the 1000 rupees which I'm gifting you right now, definitely that will be 1000 only. It will not change. So that's why 2000 into 1, which is 2000. When you will add all the amounts, you will get 7846, which is the total future value of the amount which you are investing in certain number of years at different time gap, and with the interest rate of 10%. Right? So what you are doing, you are taking the individual investments, checking the number of period for which your investment will be held with the bank, or in, anywhere wherever you are saving, and then calculating individual future value, and then adding them up, summing them up to come up with a future value. Right? The total future value of that question is your 7846 rupees. Right? Again, you can use the calculators, or you can even refer to the present value index factor table, which we have discussed in our previous videos. Right? So now the questions can be a bit tricky. Right? The questions can be that for the first 2 years you are earning at the interest rate of 10%. For the remaining life, you will be earning at the rate of 15%. So this will also change, but the time will be as per the timeline. So that is why in my first video itself, I have shared with you how to prepare a timeline. Right? So let us just take an example and understand the concept. So be ready with the calculators to give me the answers. Let me just clear the screen. Give me a minute, please. So let us just do one thing. Let us just see how the calculations are done. This is our basic formula, right? We're just changing 2 to 3 things in it. the first thing which we will be changing is that when you will be in your second year, from that time onwards, your interest rate will be 15%, right? So if we draw your timeline, 0, 1, 2, 3, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. I'm saying that you'll be earning 10% over here, 10% over here, but you will be earning 15% over here, and so on, right? So your formula till here is this, here is this, correct, but over this part it is going to be 1.15, right? So now let's just check with the calculator what will be the amount. It is going to be 2000 into 1.15, right, which will give you 2300, right? And because of which your total will also change, and it will be 1331 plus 1815 plus 2300 plus 2500, which is 7946, right? So you have an increase of 100 rupees if your interest rate changes to 15% from the third year onwards. Right? So these types of questions come in the examinations. So you have to be very clear. So the few things you should keep in your mind. Number one, read the question thoroughly. Number two, draw the timeline as and when you are reading the question, because it helps you to simplify the questions. And number three, do step-by-step calculation. That means calculate the future value of individual investments which you are making at different levels, and then total it up, sum it up, so that you can get the final future value at the end of certain number of years or the timeline, right? So that's it for this small portion, that how to calculate the future value of multiple investments or amount. So let's now calculate the present value. We have studied for the future value. Now let us just learn how to calculate the present value of multiple cash flows. So same again, you'll be drawing the timelines, and you'll be using the formula. Now this time, which formula will you be using? That is, present value is equals to future value divided by 1 plus I to the power of n, or future value into present value index factor, right? So now let us just see the question which we have to do. So let's just assume that you have, or you will be depositing rupees 1,500 in 1 year's time, 2,000 in 2 years time, and 2,500 in 3 years time, in an account paying 10% interest per annum. So what is the present value of these different cash flows? So as I have already told you, that whenever we move back in time, we do discounting, right? When we move ahead, we do compounding, but when we move backwards, it is discounting. So now let us just draw the timeline over here once. And the timeline is 0, 1, 2, and 3. They are saying over here, it is going to be 1,500. Then it is 2,000, and it is 2,500, right? So what we have to do, we have to discount this 2,500 into 1, 2, and 3 times, right? So what was our formula? Future value divided by 1 plus I to the power of n. And when you will be doing 1 plus 0.10 to the power of 3, the amount will be used to divide 2,500, which will give you 1,878. When you will solve this one, that is for the 2,000 rupees, that means you are going to discount it for how many years? 1 year and 2 year, because this is what? This is our present value position. So 2 years discounting for 2,000, which will give you 1,653. For this, there is certainly no discounting because it is 1 year's time lag. So it is 1 year's time lag. You will be getting 1,364. When you will add these three, you will get 4,895. So what is the thing which you have done? Number one, you have created a timeline. You have placed the figures very correctly, because if the placement of the figures are not proper, even if your formula is correct, your calculation is correct, but still the answer will be wrong. So please be very vigilant while you are solving these questions. They might sound tricky, but once you do practice of these types of questions, you'll be very, having a good command in these topics. So first, timeline. Second, proper utilization of calculator to calculate the amounts, right? Discounting is done in this one because we are calculating present value. And the third step, to add up all the present values individually to get the overall total present value, right? So that's it for this part. So if I say for the calculation of present value and future value, whether you have lump sum amount or you have different amount, you have same formula, right? There is no change in formula. It is just how to implement the formulas, right? So let us just write down all the formulas once so that it might be a quick review for you. So for the calculation of future value, you always do compounding, and that is present value into 1 plus I to the power of n, right? And when we do for the present value calculation, that means we are doing discounting. Our formula is future value divided by 1 plus I to the power of n, right? And this is used even if you have multiple cash flow or lump sum amount or a single cash flow. Okay? So this is it for the present value and future value calculation for the multiple cash flows or the lump sum amount. Now let's move ahead and talk about the annuities. So what is annuity? An ordinary annuity is a series of equal cash flows that occurs at the end of each period for some fixed number of period. So what are we talking about? We are talking about a good series of equal cash flows. That means if it is 500, it is equal 500 for entire timeline, right? So a series of equal cash flow that occur at the end of each period. That means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, right? For fixed number of periods. So maybe for the 20 years or for the 8 years or for the 7 years. So let's take an example over here for the 9 years. So this 500, 500, and 500, right? So this is known as annuity. So the common examples which you see for the annuity in reality is your consumer loans, your home mortgage. So what you do is that let's take an example that I have applied for a personal loan of 20 lakh rupees. So how I will be paying back my 20 lakh rupees is that I will be saying that after every month I will be paying, let's take an example of 5,000 rupees, right? For certain number of years, let's take randomly 10 years, right? So this is what? This is an example of an annuity, right? Home loans are also given in the same method, that you take a home loan amount and you will be giving equal number of installments or paying equal number of installments after every month or after every quarter or after every, semi-annually or annually, so that you can repay your home mortgage as well, right? So now, ma'am, what is perpetuity? Then perpetuity is a type of an annuity in which cash flow continues forever. Remember, the difference between annuity and perpetuity is only one thing, that is, annuity is for fixed number of period, whereas perpetuity is continue forever. So let us just focus on the annuity first. So let's have a quick recap of what is annuity. Annuity is a series of equal cash flows. Remember, it is a series of equal cash flow. It can be inwards and it can be outwards. It depends on the situation, right? So it is a series of equal cash flows that occurs at end of each period for some fixed number of period, right? One of the example is your car loans. One of the example is your customers loans, which you take it like your personal loans, for the home loans and whatever, right? And annuity is one of the things which actually you can see in the market. You can easily, relate it when you might be hearing few of your friends or your relatives talking about the loans. If they are taking that, I have to pay monthly X amount of money for 10 years so that I can pay my overall bill of my car or my mobile, the EMIs right now, which is going on. It is also one of the types of the annuities. So how to calculate future value of an annuity? So the formula is in front of you and it might be very confusing, that lots and lots of brackets and things. So let us just simplify it. First of all, let us just understand the terms which are related with the formula. So first term which you can see in the formula is PVAT. So PVAT actually stands for present value of annuity. So annuity is denoted as capital A and small t. This is annuity, right? So the present value of annuity is equals to PMT, that is your payment. Whatever amount is there for the payment, right? So that payment into 1 minus 1 divided by 1 plus r to the power of n or t whole divided by r. So actually, if you will write, it is PMT into 1 minus 1 divided by 1 plus r to the power of n, right? and whole divided by R, that is rate, and this is how you calculate your PV of annuity. So let us just take an example and understand it. So you have received 500 at the end of each of the next 5 years. The current interest rate is 9% per annum. What is the present value of this series of cash flow? So what I am saying over here is that you have a timeline of 5 years, and at the end of every year, you are going to receive how much? 500 rupees. Right? And the rate is 9%. So you have to calculate the total present value over here of all these what you are receiving after every year till 5 years. So how you are going to write it? You are going to calculate it with the help of the formula, which is your 500 into 1 minus 1 divided by 1 plus 0.09 to the power of 5 and whole divided by 0.09. Right? So now either you can use the calculator to solve this entire question, or you can take a help of one more table, which is what? Which is your present value interest factor for the annuities. So what does this present value index factor of your annuity helps you to find out? It helps you to find out this part of the formula directly. Right? So you just have to simply multiply it with by your payment amount, and you will get your present value of annuity. So let's see our example number 2 to calculate the present value of an annuity. So you have to buy a car. Wow, that's a great news that you guys are buying a car, and that car is of only 7,500. Wow, isn't that so great? So you have to buy a 7,500 car, and you agrees to pay the loan of the 7,500 by an equal monthly repayment, and that repayment will be for how many years? For 5 years, and the current interest rate is 12% per annum, which is compounded yearly. So what is the amount of each monthly payment? So few things to be taken into the consideration before we start solving this question. Number one, we have to adjust the compounding I and your N. And how to do that, we have studied in our previous video. So what we do is, whenever we have to adjust the I and N because it is a monthly or because it is a compounded monthly, so what we do is we always divide our interest and multiply our N. So because it is monthly, we are going to divide the interest by 12 and multiply the N by 12. So the final I is equals to 12% divided by 12, which is 1%, which is also written as 0.12. And your final N is going to be 5 into 12, that is your 60 periods, right? So let us just check how to solve this. So we know that we have to calculate the present value amount. So your formula is amount into your one plus I to the power of n minus 1 divided by I into 1 plus I to the power of n, right? So your future value, right? So your future value will be equal to present value, that is your 7,500 into 1 plus 0.01 to the power of not 5, not 12, 60 minus 1 divided by 0.01 into 1 plus 0.01 to the power of 60. Now it is going to take lots and lots of efforts for you to type this onto the calculator and calculate this big, division. So you can either use the calculator small by small, you can step by step solve it, or you can take the help of an table. So let us just go and take the help of a table, right? So what was this table? This table is your present value interest factor for the annuity. So let us just take the help of this table and calculate your I overall, and when you will multiply it with your 7,500, you will get it 166.83 monthly payments for 5 years. Isn't that so easy? Just you need to know which table is to be used, which formula is to be used. What is your question asking? Right? The question is asking present value, then use the formula of the present value. If the question is asking you future value, use the formula of future value and simply solve the question step by step, one by one, and you will get the answer. So now let us just check how to calculate your future value of ordinary annuities. So the calculation of future value of ordinary annuities, you have this formula in which the amount is multiplied by 1 plus r to the power of n minus 1 whole divided by r. And now this part is formula is referred as future value interest factors for annuity, right? So again, you have a table in which you can go and refer the rates and the time and get that value multiplied with the amount and directly get the future value of an annuity. So let us just check an example and solve it. So the question number 1 is, what is the future value of 200 rupees deposited at the end of every year for 10 years if the interest rate is 6% per annum? So let us just use the formula and solve it. So with the help of the formula, if we put all the values, it is going to be 200 into 1 plus 0.06 to the power of 10 minus 1 divided by 0.06. So let us just check the table. So the table is here. It is for the 6%, 10. So it is 13.181, right? So it is 13.181 into 200, which will give you this amount. Right? So isn't that easy if you take direct help of the table instead of calculating the figures? But my friends, you should know how to do and how to solve these powers, because there might be a probability that in question you are not given the references of these tables, right? So at that time you need to know the entire formula and you need to know how to solve these formulas, how to step by step solve the entire question, right? So isn't that so easy for you all to do it if you have the table with you? So now let us just understand what is annuity due. Ma'am, annuity which we have studied and that and annuity due are they different? Yes, of course, there is a very thin line, but a big difference between ordinary annuities and annuity dues. And what is that? The annuities are generally, the ordinary annuities are generally at the end of the period payments, but whereas the annuity dues are for the beginning of each period. So the annuity due is an annuity for which each cash flows occurs at the beginning of each period, right? So whenever there is going to be a payment or a receivement of any amount, it will be at the beginning. Is it clear or not? If it is not clear, just let's take an example. In ordinary annuity, you used to get the payment or you used to make the payments at the end of every month or year, that is 30th or 31st, right? But when it is annuity due, it will be always the payments on 1st of every month. That means 1 month interest is extra, right? So for this extra, you simply multiply 1 plus I over here to directly get the amount, whether it is for the future value or for the present value. So the formula remains same, but just difference is that you simply add or multiply this one more element, that is one more installment of the payment, 1 plus I, with the amount, and then you solve rest entire question and you get the amount of annuity dues. Rest all the tricks and the table is same. The table again will give you the values of these parts only. So when you get the value of this part, you have to multiply it with this and with the amount so that the overall present value of the annuity due can be received, right? So now let us just check once, what do you mean by perpetuity? So there might be a difference in your mind that what is annuity, annuity due, and perpetuity. So first thing you should be very clear is that annuity and annuity due are same, but there has to be just deal with the beginning and the end of the year. And perpetuity is somewhere down the relevant, the same concept, but the only difference, a very thin line and single difference is that the perpetuities are for infinite period of time. That means the timeline will not be closed. It will go on and on. That means for the annuities, when I used to draw the timeline, I used to close that timeline. It used to be for certain amount of fixed period. But when we talk about the perpetuity, it is not the case. For the perpetuity, I will draw the timeline like this because it will go on. Why it will go on? Because they are for infinite, calculated as the cash flows are infinite forever. Ma'am, do we have such types of thing in reality? Do we see such types of situation where we are going to get the amount for infinite? Yes, there are many things. One of the examples which I can refer to you right now and you might relate is when you do the retirement plan. So there are many retirement plans in which till the age of retirement, you pay certain amount of money. And once you get the retire and you attain that age, after that, equal installment of payments are received to you till you die. So till you die, that means you don't know the time. You don't know the exact number of years when you have to close the timeline. So it keeps on going. So these types of situation, these types of investment avenues are known as perpetuity. So ma'am, how to calculate the present value of perpetuity? So the present value of perpetuity is that whatever amount you are going to receive equally forever, that amount divided by interest will give you the present value. Ma'am, where is n? No n. Why? Because there is infinite end. So you don't have a specific number of period or specific time or years. So definitely there will be no n element in this formula. The formula is very easy, and I think in the entire time value of money chapter, the only formula which you might have found very simple, just two elements, that is your amount divided by interest for the calculations of the present value of annuity. Right. Now, what types of question can come in annuity is your missing figure. They might give you the present value, they might give you the amount, and they can ask you to calculate your interest. So simply you just have to, cross multiply it, get the interest by dividing the amount with the present value, and you will get the interest ratio. Right. So this can be done, or simply they can give you the present value and interest, and they can ask you the amount. So for that, what you have to do, you have to multiply the present value and interest, you will get the amount which is there for the perpetuity. Right. So that's it for the perpetuity. So let us just quickly have a recap of what we have studied today. So we have actually studied today our present value of multiple cash flows, our future value of multiple cash flow, annuity. In that annuity also, we have studied present value of ordinary annuity. We have studied future value of ordinary annuity. We have studied present value of annuity due, and we have also seen the formula of future value of annuity due. Right. And side by side we looked upon the FVIFA and PVIFA, the tables, the new two tables which we have studied today. And we also looked upon the perpetuity and annuities differences, and how to calculate the perpetuity, and why the perpetuity's only present value is calculated, and what is the formula, and how to use that formula if the missing figure questions arises. Right. So this was it. So let us just go slide by slide to have a glimpse of what we have studied. This was the formula to calculate the future value, and this is how we calculated for the multiple cash flow. Then for the present value for the multiple cash flows. Then what is annuity, right? The examples we looked upon. Then the formula to calculate the present value of annuity, the table, right? Then the present value annuities numerical which we solved, two numericals which we have solved. One is to look the compounding effect also. Then we also studied the future value of ordinary annuity, how to calculate the future value of ordinary annuity, right, with the help of FVIFA. This is the table of FVIFA. You can just simply refer it. Over here we have done that. Then the question, this was the formula and we used it, right? And then it is an annuity due. What is the difference between the annuity due and the normal ordinary annuity, right? Then we looked upon the formulas of both annuity due and the present annuity. Then the perpetuity, right? The difference between them, the difference between the two timelines, that is a timeline of ordinary annuity and a timeline of a perpetuity. We also looked upon the question, and we also understood the combinations in which the questions may come, right? And this is the references which I have used for today's presentation. So one of the book is M.Y. Khan and P.K. Jain. This is one of very good books which I prefer and refer to all my students to use it when they are studying the present value calculations, and especially for the financial management. And another one is Principles of the Corporate Finance by the Richard A. Berley. And this is one of the very good books in which good amount of numerical questions are given. So students, please do use my videos to understand the concept and learn how to use the formulas. But the practice part has to be from your side. Solve n number of questions so that you can have a good hand on time value of money numericals, because these are a free scores you can get. You just have to learn the formula, understand the language, and that's it. You are allowed to use the calculators in the MBA exams. You can easily get the good marks, right? So this topic seems difficult, have lots and lots of formula, but down the line you just have to study 2 to 3 more formulas, but rest all is same, just the understanding. Don't get confused with the language. Read the question thrice and then understand it what they are asking. Draw the timeline. Once you have created your timeline, you have identified what is missing and what is given, then use the formula, implement it, and then calculate and get the final answer. And while solving this entire, please be very vigilant in using the decimals, and while calculating, just be very sure that you are pressing the correct values on the calculator. Otherwise the entire hard work will be in zero if you have not taken care of these small silly mistakes which generally the students do when they solve the numericals. So let us just have a quick self check by solving the MCQ. I have total 10 MCQ. This slide comprises of the 6 MCQs. So please take time and solve the MCQ. These are the 4 of the questions. So I do hope that you were all able to solve the 10 MCQ questions. Just let me share it once more to you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, they are numerical based questions, so it will give you good amount of practice. A few of the questions which I have drafted for you, and with the help of the MCQs you will be definitely coming up with a nearby answer, and you can check that whether your answers are coming accurate or not. Right, generally these types of questions are asked in the examination, that what does FVIFA stands for, or what does PVIFA stands for. So you should know the exact abbreviations full form, because it might be very confusing when it comes to MCQ. So please be very clear with all the nitty-gritties of this chapter. And today we have winded up our time value of money, and to hope you have learned all the formulas very well, and I will be able to solve all the questions. So thank you everyone. Thank you.